Hey guys, it's Tearless. Welcome to Netherlight Temple. This is the class order hall for priests in World of Warcraft Legion. This is where all the priests will be hanging out. It's I think a former Draenic prison turned into a class order hall. So, I mean, you have all the big wigs for all the priests here. You have Prophet Velen, Alonzo's Fail. If you don't know who this guy is, he's the one who kind of founded the original paladins, such as Uther. You got Moria Thalrizian, and you also have Kalia Menethil, if you don't remember that last name. That is Arthas's older sister. So, I'm in this video here to show you the class specialization overview of Discipline Priests. Discipline Priests have been slightly overhauled. I'm going to be mostly approaching this as a brand new specialization in World of Warcraft Legion. It's definitely on the two-thirds sides of specializations that I do believe have changed significantly enough to that you will not recognize major portions of it, at least the playstyle, I should say. Now this will be a two-part series, two-video series. In this first video, we're going to be looking at the abilities of a Discipline Priest and how they have changed. I'll go through removed abilities first. Then I'll go into changed, and then I'll go into the new abilities. And then after that, we'll look at the beautiful artifact weapon that is for Discipline Priest. This is the base version of that Discipline Priest artifact weapon. Looks really nice. It looks like stained glass almost on weapon, which is pretty cool. So, let's go ahead and get straight into it. Now, I will say, I'm going to go with removed abilities first, then changed, and then new. And I know a lot of priests are going to be pretty scared when I start listing off all of the removed abilities because you've lost a lot. So, starting into it, we've lost Archangel, which I believe was the buff that Discipline Priests received to their healing. That is now gone. Fear Ward is now gone. This is where things start getting scary. Flash Heal is gone. Heal is gone. Holy Fire is gone. Holy Nova is gone. Mind Seer is gone. Mind Vision is gone. Power Word Fortitude is gone. That's something that's happened across all classes. Pretty much all of your raid-wide buffs have been removed from the game. Prayer of Healing is gone. Prayer of Mending is gone. Those are two, Prayer of Mending being the bounce heal that you had, and then Prayer of Healing being your AoE heal. Those are all gone. Divine Aegis is gone. I believe that was a passive ability. Enlightenment is gone. Another passive ability gone. Evangelism, or Evangelism, however you like to pronounce it, is gone. And then lastly, Mastery Shield Discipline is gone. So you lost a lot. So before I get into the changed abilities, I kind of want to explain something about Discipline Priests. In Warlords of Draenor, Blizzard attempted to craft Discipline Priests into this class that was able to dish out damage and heal at the same time. They wanted kind of a different flavor of a different flavor of priests. It's the same things that they try to do with Mistweavers and their certain stances and so forth. They had only partial success on this, and so this time around they've decided, hey, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make Discipline Priests 100%, or at least I should say mostly 100% damage will equal healing. So that is what's changed, and you'll see that when I get to Mastery Absolution, which is the new Discipline Priest, Mastery, and when I start going into these new abilities that they have. So with that being said, let's look at the changed abilities. First off, Mass Dispel has been changed. His target threshold is now 5 players instead of 10, so you could probably call it a big nerf there. And then you have the cast time increased by approximately around 1 second. The numbers are really strange here. 1.39, and then I can't remember what it was on live, but it was something like 0.43. Different stats and what they're changing the cooldowns, but approximately 1 second reduction on your 1 second increase on your cast time for Mass Dispel. Pain Suppression has had its cooldown increase from 3 minutes to 4.5 minutes, so a huge nerf there. Penance, this is the big one, and this is this is where things are going to start changing and looking a little different. In that penance, the healing component has been removed. You no longer heal with penance. And this is kind of showing what things are going to be with this new with how disciplined priests operate. The good thing about penance is that it can now be cast while healing. So I have a target dummy here. I'll go ahead and use penance. As you can see, I just move around. My pens will fly off. So no new spell visuals. By the way, I found out today that while Blizzard has worked really hard on new melee spell visuals, their next goal is to look into actual spell visuals for casters. I think only one caster in Fire Mage has really gotten kind of an update in their spell visuals, a little bit of an Elemental Shaman, but for the most part, spell visuals on casters have not changed. Power Word Shield, it no longer heals damage absorbed. So before, you absorb damage and then like 20% of the damage absorbed came back as a heal. That has been gone. And it no longer grants borrowed time, which was a haste stat increase. That has been removed before. I believe now your Power Word Shield is just straight. It's just a shield now, and it will delay spell casting. It will still help prevent any delaying from your spell casting. Lastly, Smite has been changed. It now absorbs damage from the enemy. And let me go ahead and read this off just so you're a little bit more clear on that. Smites an enemy for 6,500 holy damages and absorbs the next 47,000 damage dealt by the enemy. So it's a personal buff on yourself. It's just a personal buff straight to yourself. So you have some personal mitigation, damage mitigation when you cast Smite, and that's starting to play into these new abilities. Now, I'm going to first talk about the new ability Atonement, and I call it a new ability. It was a very integral part of Discipline Priest before. It's been changed again, but I want to go and call it a new ability because it's changed drastically, though it's still kind of trying to keep into the theme of you do damage and you'll get healing back. So, here's how this works. Plea, which is a new ability that I'll get to, Power Word Shield, Shadow Mend, another new ability that I'll get to, and Power Word Radiance, another new ability that I'll get to, also apply Atonement to your target for 15 seconds. So, any of the heals that you have, which you have a few more now, will now apply a heal to the target, or not a heal to the target. It'll apply a buff to the target, and when you deal damage with your spells, it will take that damage and heal the targets affected by Atonement for 48% of the damage done. So, with that being said, let's look at Mastery Absolution, which is another new ability. Increases healing transferred through Atonement by 21.1%. So you can see the baseline looks like it's around 27%, if I did my math right. So 27% is baseline, and then your mastery will increase that. So that's Atonement Mastery is basically the new kind of way these abilities will work. Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot of new abilities there that I listed off that I will be able to show you. And do not worry, if you're a big fan of the old abilities like Flash Heal, Holy Fire, Holy Nova, Mind Seer, Mind Vision, well, except for Mind Vision, I'm not sure about that. But for most of those, they're still in the either the Holy Tree, you can see Flash Heal right here, and Heal right here, or they're in the Shadow Tree, and I do know that Mind Flay and Mind Seer are in this tree as well. So, let's look at the rest of these new abilities before I start demonstrating how the Atonement Mastery kind of works off one another. First, we have Mass Resurrection. Mass Resurrection was the ability like everyone had, and they could use it to heal everyone up, or to res everyone up. Now this is a specific ability just for healers. I mentioned this in the Restoration Shaman video. They have a different version of this spell. It's called differently, but it revives everyone back. To my knowledge, I mean, I haven't gotten into a situation which I've been able to test it, is that you cannot, there's no longer a debuff anymore. You can only be affected by Mass Resurrection for the next, X minutes or whatever. That's gone. It's just there. It's quality of life. When a raid wipes, it's just easier to have a healer that can do Mass Resurrection. So, that has been put into the game. The second new ability is going to be Plea. Here is Plea, a quick, efficient plea to heal an ally for 47,000 for 47,000 health. Mana cost is increased by 100% for each atonement you have active. Now do know that mana really only matters for healers now. Even arcane mages, as I described in the last video, basically it's more about, instead of keeping your mana all the way to maximum, it's more about just timing when you use your evocation. Really, mana is something that you have to really pay attention to as a healer, because if you go broke on your mana, you're doomed and you're a bad healer. So, do pay attention to this. And when it says each atonement you have active, so if I go ahead and have atonement on, this, let me see if I can cast it on this character right here. He has atonement now, okay? Now, if I use it on myself, I now have atonement. So I have 2 atonements active, which means that the cost, as you it doesn't actually show. I thought it showed it in the top right-hand corner. The atonement will now cost 200% increased because I have 2 atonements active. And then when it falls off, it drops down and so forth. But I do believe they have a yes. If you look at the plea icon in the bottom left hand, in the middle of my spell bar at the bottom, it actually shows you how many you have active currently. So as I have it on me and this cleric, it's 2, and when it drops off of her, it will drop down to 1, and then it'll drop down to the number will disappear when it's no longer there. So the number in the bottom right hand corner of the spell visual will tell you how many that are active. Honestly, I don't think people are going to like that, and they're going to want to have some type of add-on in there that actually shows you your plea stacks and just how strong it is, especially when we get into some of these other abilities such as Power Word Radiance. So with that being said, let's look at Power Word Radiance. Power Word Radiance, a burst of light heals excuse me. A burst of light heals a friendly target and their 2 nearest allies for 60,000 and applies atonement. So this is basically a 3 target heal. I'll go ahead and use it here so you can see what it looks like. As you can see right there, I used it on this target, and I was close enough, so now we both have atonement. I'm really hoping that this class order hall is kind of changed around. The training dummies are actually straight in front of my character there across the way. Or, excuse me, the healing dummies are, and for a class that depends so much on having training dummies and healing dummies, it's kind of difficult to showcase both of them. But I'm going to go over here and show you what Power Word Radiance can do, just so you have an idea. I'll go ahead and actually I'll target myself right in the center here and use Power Word Radiance, and it'll hit all these targets. Oh no, it didn't hit the one in the back here. I'll use it again. And there we go. And I have 4 targets active. If you look at my plea in the bottom, which is right next to Penance, you can see that it has 4 target there. And as it drops off, it'll drop all the way down to 3. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and head back over here so I can demonstrate how this new atonement / mastery absolution is actually going to work in, practicality. So, I'm going to go ahead, before I do that, getting a little ahead of myself, we have 2 new abilities still to look at. First is Rapture. For the next 11 seconds, Power Word Shield has no cooldown. So I'm just going to go ahead and, well, I guess I should go back over here. Or I guess I can use it on all of these targets in the center, I believe. Yes? Nope, can't. I have to use it on healing target dummies. So I'm going to go over here and use it on this. And we'll go ahead and use Rapture. You can see the spell visual. Nice. I believe that is a spell visual that they've used before. And there we go. We have it on all 3 targets, and I can heal them with plea, but it'll cost 3 times as much because I have atonement on 3 different targets. So that is a pretty cool cooldown to have, being able to just toss out shields everywhere. If a dire situation arises, pop Rapture, start popping shields on everybody. Just I mean, if you're in a raid situation, that's pretty awesome because you can pop shields on everyone, let the other healers deal with the intensity of the healing just for a little bit while you get shields on everyone really quickly, and then you can switch over to back to healing them pretty quickly through damage. So, with that being said, there is one last ability to look at, and that is Shadow Mend. I'm not going to lie, I'm still a little confused on this ability, but you wrap an ally in shadows, which heal for 162,000, but at a price. The ally will take 8,000 damage every 1 second until they have taken 81,000 total damage from all sources or leave combat. So, basically, let's get an idea here. We have plea. Okay, plea is your short, quick heal to save someone. That only does 47,000 of a heal. This is a 162,000 heal. Small cast time. So this is literally to get someone up really quickly in an emergency, and then you're going to have to kind of, you know, heal them back up. In a weird way, it's kind of like maybe a shaman, you know, splitting damage between characters. This is a quick way to get heals up and to prevent them from dying, and then you kind of have a slow, you know, kind of a dot on their health, and you're able to heal that up at a much more manageable pace than you would normally. You know, 8,100 damage, 81,000 total damage means that it's going to take 10 seconds for this to fall off. So it's basically like, okay, we're taking the healing that you absolutely need, or the damage that you just took. Let's say you took a huge ton of damage and you're at like 10% of your health. We're going to instead cast this ability on you, and we're going to revert that damage and say that that damage is given to you over 10 seconds. So that's kind of a compromise, and it's only 81,000 of the damage. So half of the damage goes back as well. So just kind of a, I don't know how to describe that as well, but that's how it would work in my eyes. And that's how you would use it, is basically like, oh my gosh, emergency, this guy took so much damage, let's pump him back up real quick so that he can drop off much more slowly. And that's a 30,000 mana cast. Let's see it compared to Plea, which is only 3,000 mana. So, it kind of gives you an idea. That's a really important spell that you kind of have to be careful when you use, compared to other healing abilities. Though like something like Power Word Radiance already costs 71,000 damage, and for Plea costing only 3,000 mana, you know, even if I have several targets afflicted with the atonement buff, honestly, I just don't see a situation in which Shadow Mend is going to be more useful than something like Plea. I mean, we get it on, well, we have it on 2 targets here, and it jumps up to 15,000 damage, but being able to instant cast Plea a few times, I think it's a better way to heal people than it is to use Shadow Mend. So do note that Shadow Mend is available to, I believe, Shadow Priests and maybe Holy Priests. I'm not sure. Possibly not. I mean, they're holy. Yeah, it's not on Holy Priests, but it is on Shadow Priests. I'm not really sure why it's on Discipline, especially when you have more efficient options like Plea. They may do some damage numbers buffs to change things around so that it works better. So, with that being said, let's go ahead, and that is all the new abilities. Let's take a look at how this atonement is going to work. I'm going to go ahead and just pop atonement on myself and this priest, and then I'm going to put Shadow Word Pain on all these targets, use penance, and then you're going to start seeing the heals just kind of overload us. You're going to see a spell visual come over us. It's a small little circle that kind of helix up from the base of our body upwards, so you're going to see it constantly as we use it. So I'm going to go ahead and use this here, and then I'm going to use Shadow Word Pain on all these targets. You can see the constant heals that we're starting to get in. You can see the heals going off on that target. There's penance going off. You see the 44Ks. That's from penance. So you can see basically how this is going to function. Is basically your job as a disciplined priest is to get atonement on people that need it. You know, if you need to quickly put a plea on a target, and then, you know, your Shadow Word Pain's already ticking on the target, and now he's actually starting to get heals. So basically, you're going to be doing damage, and then when someone needs a heal, you go ahead and toss them a power word shield. You go ahead and toss them a a plea or whatever. You just need one atonement on it. There's no stacks or anything. You just need one atonement on that character, and then you can go back to damaging, and they start healing up. This kind of method, I feel, is more like is less bursty. You have more just regular plain kind of over time healing with this kind of method. So I don't know what your role would be, whether you're a tank healer, etc. It could be very useful as a tank healer, as you just consistently always make sure that you have atonement on the tank, and then from there you're able to proceed with just dealing damage to the boss. But overall, this creates a really fun playstyle for a Disciplined Priest because, I mean, you're basically going to be just straight doing damage now to get all of your healing off, which is really cool. So, once again, I'm going to demonstrate it for you just one more time. And I'm going to go ahead and just put as much as I can on these targets and use penance, and you can see just the amount of heals that are popping up from this. So, there's a lot of healing incoming to that target right now, just from the damage I'm doing. And, I mean, if you're in an AoE situation, and you have dots on everyone, and then all of a sudden you decide to pop Power Word Radiance, those dots will continue to heal. So, that's something to think about. And, you basically have your... It's kind of weird, because you basically have your heals in place. If you have Shadow Word Pain on the target, and you're dealing damage to the target, you have your heals in place. So as long as you just quickly snap to a target and press plea, all of the damage that's coming from Shadow Word Pain now all of a sudden starts going towards healing, towards whatever your atonement target is. So, I hope I successfully explained everything dealing with how that will function in World of Warcraft Legion. Disciplined Priests, the theme of what they want to do is still the same, but in the same sense, it is so different. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at this beautiful artifact on the back, the stained glass staff that they have on the back, and we'll look at all of the talents according to it. So this weapon is called Light's Wrath, and before I get into anything, actually let me close this real quick and show you the ability. Light's Wrath, 2.32 seconds, 1.5 minute cooldown, draws upon the power of Light's Wrath, dealing 177 radiant damage. I'm not quite sure what radiant damage is. It sounds cool though. Because, I mean, Wrath is still considered to be holy damage, so radiant damage has got to be a combination of something else. Maybe it's holy in nature? Could be, I'm not sure. So there is radiant damage to the target, increased by 10% per ally affected by your atonement. Let's go over here and see if we can really use that here. Actually, I guess I could use it on these guys right here. Let's go ahead and see if we can get it off on these guys right here. Nope, it's not gonna work. So it only works on that one wonderful cleric over there is giving me the ability to show you guys how this actually works. Not sure why it's that way, but let's just put plea on everybody, and then we'll go ahead and use... we can't even use this on this. Go ahead and use it now. Nope! I gotta use it on a target. It's driving me nuts, the fact that these training dummies are on opposite ends of the spectrum here. Alright, we'll go ahead and use plea on this target, and then from there we'll go ahead and use the artifact weapon. As you can see there, it's pretty cool. It launches kind of an orb, and then it heals the target at the same time. So, that's a pretty cool ability that they have, and that is a starter ability for your holy weapon, the Light's Wrath. So, as with every artifact weapon, you start with this right here, the Light's Wrath, and then you build it up like a talent tree. Now, I have been reading more into this recently because these ranks cost a lot to actually get up. I mean, it costs a ton to get these ranks up, and I was looking into off-specs and so forth. Apparently, your off-spec weapon, whatever it is, you have to be very careful what you choose as your primary spec. Your off-spec weapon will always be able to be about 20% behind your main weapon. So let's say you've just got all of this filled in, your other weapon, your offhand, off-spec weapon, whatever it may be, um, will be 20% behind for both of them. Uh, so maybe you like don't have like these four abilities or so, something like that. I don't know, but this is one thing that I'm really concerned about is artifact weapon and uh, how long is this going to take to actually build this up, because this is kind of a big deal, and it seems like a real grind, which could be fun, especially if it's out in the world and you're forced to, combat other players, at least on PvP realms. But at the same time, it could be frustrating for people with alts who want to do other stuff, but are forced to go around getting artifact power on all these different characters. And if there's no cap to how much artifact power you can get in a time, then it becomes extremely frustrating because you can really only focus on one at a time. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and go through all of the different abilities that you're getting through this, or I should say small buffs. The epic portraits generally show you something extra that's coming to your spec. So those are the real big ones that you want. The other ones are basically boring and basic, such as Invoke the Light. Increases damage dealt by smite by 15%. You have Shield of Faith. Increases damage absorbed by Power Word Shield by 15%. You have Confession, increases the damage dealt by Penance by 6%. Shadow Mend, Taming the Shadows. Shadow Mend has a 15% chance to deal no damage. So 15% chance to literally negate that damage that comes out of it, which is pretty cool. Burst of Light increases healing done by Power Word Radiance by 15%. That's your big AoE heal now. You have Darkest Shadows, increases the healing done by Shadow Mend by 10%. You have Vestments of Discipline, Activating Fade reduces all damage you take by 10% for 6 seconds. You have Pain is in Your Mind, reduces the cooldown of pain suppression by 30 seconds. So, just to give you an idea, it's a 5-minute cooldown. And it's been brought down to 4.5 minutes. They really nerfed it heavily. You have one of the big options here, Sins of the Many, increases the damage you deal by 1% per ally affected by your opponent. So that was the buff that I noticed earlier, as I put Atonement on Dark Cleric, Cecile, and myself. It's up here on the right here, Sins of the Many, damage increased by 2%. More damage equals more healing, Discipline Priest, remember that. The other epic you have here is Power of the Dark Side. Shadow Word Pain has a chance to increase damage dealt by your next penance by 100%. Let's see if we can actually get that to actually proc, and it procced right there at the very beginning. Let's go ahead and get this off before I go ahead and use this, and then we'll go ahead and use it, and there's the 44k. When penance comes back up, let's see once again if we can get, see, it's only 22k there, so big difference with a 44k crit. We have the Edge of Dark and Light, increases the damage dealt by Shadow Word Pain by 15%. I'm not gonna lie, this is pretty exciting how, there's so many damage options in this discipline tree for your artifact weapon. It's really showing how much you're gonna be relying on dealing damage as a discipline priest to heal. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You have Barrier of the Devoted. This is your third kind of epic ability getting. Increases the healing by your atonement by 100% on targets inside your Power Word Barrier. Power Word Barrier was not mentioned throughout this entire video, which means Power Word Barrier is exactly the same as it is on live. Doomsayer increases the duration of Rapture by 3 seconds. So remember, Rapture is your ability to consistently just dish out shields to everyone with no cooldown. There's Borrowed Time. Applying Atonement to a target, it reduces the cast time of your next Smite or Light's Wrath by 15%, or causes the next Penance to channel 15% faster. I really don't like stuff that, is not concrete. It's like an or. Let's go ahead and see if we can apply that as well. See if we can get that as well. I believe that's it in the top corner. Yes. Cast time of your next Smite or Light's Wrath reduced by 15%. We'll go ahead and use it here. Quicker Smite. And then you can see the heal. The last ability here, we have Speed of the Pious. You move 30% faster while casting Penance. So I'm going to be moving, la-di-da-di-da, and then I move faster with Penance. That's actually pretty cool. So, Definitely something to think about. Maybe in a raid setting in a really bad position, penance away, and you can run a little bit faster. Or in PvP, which I think Discipline Priests are going to love now. I believe dueling a Discipline Priest is going to be quite the nightmare. Though do know that you do not have access to a lot of abilities that you used to, which we will get into the talent tree. It all depends on what you're able to get in the talent tree and the PvP talent tree, but you may not have as much evasibility, if that's even a word. Um, you will not be able to be as evasive as you are on live, so I'm not sure how popular that will be, but Disc Priests could have a lot of fun in the amount of damage that they can dish out in PvP. But that is something for the next video. This was a very long video. There's a lot of changes coming to Discipline Priests. I hope you guys really enjoy this. In the next video, we will be looking at the PvP talents and the PvE talents of a Discipline Priest. Otherwise, this is Tearless. I will see you guys later.